Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Building Excellence podcast. This is a podcast that is all about just sharing wisdom, sharing nuggets to try to help anybody build excellence in some area of their life. There's a number of leaders who feel like, man, you know what? I've had some measure of success. I've learned a thing or two, and they just come on here and just share any nuggets that they have, and they hope that it blesses you. Right now, we're in the middle of a phenomenal series. It's called How to Be Unsuccessful. So this has been a series that we've talked about multiple topics, and we're at the tail end of it. And the end of every series that we have, we like to have this moment that we call candid wisdom. One of our favorite scriptures is walk with the wise and grow wise. And I know it's changed my life, and we couldn't have a podcast that we're not really showing people what that can look like, because our hope is that it changes yours too. So today you are here for the candid wisdom part of the podcast. If you have not listened to the other parts of How to Be Unsuccessful, we totally encourage you to go listen to those. But today you're in for another treat. Okay, I'm not going to introduce my guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself. So, guest, thank you for being with me. Would you mind just telling everybody kind of who you are, even your family dynamics? Are you married? Do you have children? Mm-hmm. And then even what you do for a living?
Absolutely. My name is Daniel Haynes. Of course, I'm married to a lovely wife named Raven. I call her Fancy.
Okay, Fancy.
Yeah, we have two boys, Zion, who we call Ziggy, and Zaire, we call him Zai,
okay,
or Kobe. So yeah, they're 3 and about to be 1.
Wow. So, okay, so you're in the thick of news.
Yeah, in the thick of it.
Man, hopefully you're sleeping real good. Amen.
Luckily, we're past the hardest part as far as like waking up every 2 hours or so.
Bless the Lord. Oh, isn't that a win?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
100%.
That's a milestone in and of itself. We sleeping again.
Praise the Lord for that, for sure. But also from a career standpoint, I've been doing accounting pretty much since I graduated from college. So accounting, I feel like that's the one gift that the Lord has blessed me with, accounting and finance. So
how many years is that now?
Oh man, 11.
Wow. So you've been doing accounting for 11 years.
Yep, 11 years.
That's a lot of years, man.
Yeah. So and that time frame has been for different type of organizations, for-profit corporations, nonprofits, as well. So from everything from small to a large billion-dollar entity has been able to serve, in an accounting or finance capacity, for sure.
Okay, so you have a lot of perspective. That's pretty cool. For-profit, nonprofit, small to $1 billion. Okay, all right, that's perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
So what are you doing now?
Yeah, so right now I run an accounting and financial services company called Skyward Financial Solutions. So, with that, I'm able to help nonprofits as well as, small to mid-sized businesses with their accounting needs, So on the other side of that, I like to call it my personal side of it as well, where I get to help people personally with their personal and family finance as well. So everything from like the budgeting, debt management payoff and things like that too as well. So pretty much I just serve people in businesses with accounting and finance needs.
Okay,
yeah.
So if you're a small business or medium-sized business and you need help with your accounting or finances, you saying they can go skyward.
They can go skyward. They can get on a plane and go skyward, for sure.
Man, that is really cool. Well, man, let's dive into this.
Yeah.
This is going to be a phenomenal conversation. Like this topic that we're in right now is how to be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And there's no way you could talk about success or how to be unsuccessful without having some sort of financial conversation. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
I do think every person that's watching or listening understands there's a financial component to success. I do think it's good for us to even, revisit what success even is from our vantage point. I would say that success, we're kind of defining this way. It is you accomplishing your purpose and destiny on this planet. You finding fulfillment by reaching your full capacity of what your calling is and how you've been built and the impact you're supposed to have on this planet. So if that's what success is, there is a financial component to it because you got to eat. You have to have some place to stay. You have to have the things that you need to live, and then at the same time, many of us have dreams or ambitions that are connected to our purpose, and many of those require money too. Many of us run businesses or lead families.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about how much it costs for my girls to play basketball. I was like, my goodness, but when am I going to be done with this? So there's so much that goes into this. And so I want to begin just by asking a few questions, if you don't mind, just on the financial side. So if I'm a person that is a mom, maybe a dad, or maybe just a single adult, and I want to be successful financially, I'm going to ask the opposite question then. How do I be unsuccessful financially as a mom, dad, or a single adult? What would you say? What's the top couple of reasons that come to mind? I know there could be several.
I would say a big one would be not having a plan.
Okay.
Not having goals, written down and things like that. For example, when I'm, meeting with people, clients, and we're talking, finances and things like that, I would probably say 80% of the conversation is more so why they want to accomplish what they want to accomplish, why they want the income that they want, or why they want to be, out of debt and things like that. So I think, identifying what your goals are in life, because the financial goals should be in alignment with your life goals. So I think having a plan as well as identifying goals as well as identifying what do you want to get accomplished out of life. And because all three of those things should be in alignment with each other. As one is off, that means you need to go back to strategize and back to the drawing board for sure. Because I'll probably say the other 20% is the number aspect of it. Okay, within these numbers, what can we do or how can we do, as well as even time frame of getting certain things done, so.
Wow. Okay. So I got to dive into some of that.
Yeah.
So if you want to be unsuccessful, don't have a plan.
Don't have a plan. Don't have strategy. Don't have goals.
Okay. So I think that some people would ask this question. What does a plan look like? So if you were to give an example of, I don't want to have a plan, so I don't want a plan. What does a plan look like?
Yeah, a plan is it's really, I like to look at plans from a yearly goal, like a yearly standpoint, 3 years and 5 years.
Okay.
And then depending on the scenario, maybe 10 years. But yearly, it's just more so, your expenses, like as far as just from a budgeting standpoint. So it's like, okay, here's my expenses, and really writing them out for you for a year standpoint, and doing the same for income, and because with that, sometimes people have doctor bills, student loans, maybe credit card or hospital debt and things like that. So a lot of times those things will need to be, just kind of written down on paper and just see how long it will take to get certain things paid off, or how long it will take to save a certain amount for like a home deposit. It's another big one. Those things are important when it comes to like, putting a plan together, because typically it's going to be for those things, typically trying to pay some off or save for something big.
Got it. So the plan is a financial plan.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's a numerical plan.
Yeah.
Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, I would say a numerical plan that's in alignment with a goal plan.
But what do you do first? Do you create the financial plan, or do you create goals?
Goals.
Okay.
Like, for example, if someone came to me and they say, you know what, I want to buy a house in 3 years. Typically with the house, you're going to have a home deposit. It could be 3%. Up to 20%, so with that, you have in mind what kind of house you want to buy, right? So depending on what type of house you want to buy and, price point, that in and of itself, that goal in and of itself will set the deposit amount, or at least roughly the deposit amount.
Wow.
So that's why I pretty much start with goals first, and then the numbers will follow, because the numbers don't change. 6 will always be a 6. And 2 plus 2 will always equals 4, so the numbers don't change. So that's why, starting off with goals. And if, after doing the numbers, the goals don't make sense, then it's okay. We got to tweak our goal a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. So if we want to be unsuccessful, that we don't need to have goals and we don't need to have a plan. And then I think you said the third thing was strategy, right?
Right.
Okay. So is it in that order? Goals, plan,
Yep.
then strategy?
100%.
Okay. So let me talk about goals then.
Uh-huh.
So if I want to be unsuccessful, I don't want to have goals. But if I want to be successful, I need to have goals.
100%.
So are those goals 1 year, 5 year, 10-year goals? Is that kind of what you said?
Yeah.
Re-say that again.
1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year.
Got it. Okay. 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year goals financially.
Yes.
Here's some things I would want, like buy a house or
100%.
buy a car.
Yeah.
Or investments, vacation, that kind of thing. So what I would want to buy a certain number, like a $200,000 house, a $500,000 house. I want to have a specific number on how much I would want to save for this or save for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. 100%. Like, for example, when my wife and I, when we were like house shopping, we knew that we didn't want to necessarily do the starter home because for us, we wanted to be in our first home for 14 years. So that was like a goal for us to find a 10-year home. So that's why I even mentioned 10 years, So for us, we didn't necessarily do a starter home, but more so like I would say 1 bathroom above a starter home.
That makes total sense.
Because it was part of that 10-year goal, for us too as well. So yeah. So it's pretty much, that 1, 3, 5, in 10 year. Typically the higher up you get, it's more so you're dreaming, you wish like, man, I want this to happen and things like that. But, typically your 1 year is going to be more so execution items and things like that too as well. So it's more so now based versus future.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So if I have goals and then I create a plan and this is now, here's what I have to do financially now. To be able to reach those goals. Yeah. Am I tracking with that?
Yes, 100%. That's where the strategy comes in.
Okay.
What is our game? How are we going to execute all these goals? Within, we already talked goals. We didn't talk numbers. How can we execute? So that's when it's easier to measure, the year, that 1 year, because you can break a year up into quarters as well, So that strategy, it's more so the execution. Like, all right, I got my jersey on. The referee's here, the clock is running, it's game time.
If somebody wants to flip the script, meaning if somebody doesn't want to be unsuccessful, meaning they're like, man, listen, I want to be able to reach my goals financially. So I do want to go ahead and create goals. I do want to go ahead and create a plan. I do want to go ahead and create a strategy. If they're not gifted at that, how do they do it?
The best thing to do is to reach out to people who are gifted, and I think that's a great principle with anything in life. If it's something that you're not gifted in, outsource it.
Wow.
For me, like I know I'm not gifted in anything health related, but my wife is, so I lean on her shoulders, for anything, not just with my own health, but our family's health. So I think I'm just reaching out to other people who may be more expertise in a certain area. I think that's just a great life principle, and I don't think finance is excluded from that, like any other areas of life. So I think finance is included in that part of it's like, just, if there's something that you're not good at or something that you don't want to do, reach out to someone who may be more gifted in that area or will also love to do it as well.
Wow. So then that leads me to another question. I don't know why that just seems like terrifying to many people because we're talking about money, right?
100%.
And it's me personally, I know I made a lot of money mistakes. Okay. And I don't feel like it's like taboo, like letting people in and seeing your money.
Yeah.
Like, speak to the person that even the former me, right? There was a season for myself where I was like, man, I'm not supposed to let nobody see my money. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's better than me letting somebody else see it.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah, first I want to speak to the why behind it,
Okay.
because I think naturally there's two things that people are the least trusting with,
Mm.
and that's their kids and their money. So naturally people are going to be holding their kids to their vest like, don't mess with my kids. Don't mess with my money, because those are typically the two things that people are the least trusting with, and rightfully so, because, you know, um, they're vulnerable. Kids are vulnerable. Money can be vulnerable. Money can be stolen, and things like that. So, rightfully so, people are least naturally, least trusting, with those two things. But also, I would say you can't live there. I think eventually you're going to have to let someone walk with you. If you're not expertise in it, you have to let someone walk with you. More so how we go to the doctor or a primary care physician or a dentist, a pharmacist to get meds. Um, you have to, have like a financial doctor as well, just for, even if it's just for a checkup. Yep, everything is looking good. Or you know what? Here are some tweaks we can make, to your diet, and things like that as far as expenses or income, or here's some other things that you can do. So I think just kind of looking at it as just another professional that you need, on a personal basis, or even a business, related to as well. I think that would be helpful for sure.
If I am just insecure about it, if I have a lot of anxiety about it, how do I overcome that? What would be your advice?
Yeah, I don't think that will be something that you could just overcome in one action or one step. I think overcoming that level of anxiety, I think it's more so a journey. I don't think it's a light switch. Yep, I'm done with anxiety, or yep, I trust you with my finances now. I think, with that, it's more so a journey. You'll have to continue to trust, trust God, not necessarily just trust anybody with it. You definitely want to do your due diligence with whomever you have serving you in any type of capacity, especially on a personal standpoint. So I don't think there's just a light switch that you just turn the anxiety off. I think it's going to be a journey, and I think within that journey, you're going to build trust in that journey. You're going to build self-confidence as well. But I will say the hardest part is just reaching out. Because typically once you reach out and who you reach out to, the person that you reach out to will probably, if they're doing it right, they'll probably ease some tension that you may have, because they'll probably be able to answer some questions, that you may have too as well. But if you're living in it alone, I think that would be the incorrect thing to do, because all that weight is just bearing on your shoulders. So the more you isolate yourself from it, the more you don't let anyone walk in, come into your life and just, walk with you. Again, I think that's just a principle, with anything in life, the more you just kind of harbor it, yourself, I think you would just do yourself a disservice, at that point. But I think the hardest part would just like, what, I need some help with this, or I can use some another set of eyes, get some other thoughts. I think that's the hardest part, but even just that first step, it's not going to necessarily ease the anxiety, or it's not necessarily going to like, yep, I trust you with my finance first meeting or anything like that. I think it's going to be more so a journey, because typically someone in finance, they should be spending every day building equity. They should be spending every day building trust. Not saying they're going to be perfect, but, in those moments where, a mistake is made or equity is drawn out, there's been enough trust built up, over time, just due to the journey that, like, okay, yep, we're good to go now. So I think that's important to just kind of, not live in isolation, not live in the fact that, what, things can't get better. Things can't get better than what they are now, as well as realize, because typically when I meet with people, things nearly aren't as bad as it seems, So I think even people just hearing that, like, what, thank you for telling me that, because typically people feel the exact opposite. People feel the exact opposite. Like, man, I'm in a terrible spot. I don't know how I'm gonna get out. Because I've seen some stuff, and trust me, it's never as bad as people may feel like it. So I think even just talking to someone, because we all need a friend. We all need professionals to help us with something, even if it's simply as going to Discount Tire to get new tires. Like, we need professionals, to help us with things, to get us back on the road, to where we're trying to go, and finance isn't any different.
That's so good. So now let's say that I understand what you just said. I'm going to do my best to recap it. Like, at the end of the day, you will probably feel some anxiety opening up your finances to someone for the first time.
2,000%. 2,000%.
And I do believe that most of us believe that the expectation was a light switch. I love that analogy. Like, so one day it's all secret and nobody know about it. The next day, they know everything. I love that you said, you know what? No, that's not the case. That's not the expectation. You said the expectation is a journey.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I'm like, so I don't have to light switch it. I get to take steps in that direction. That was just mind blowing to me. Okay, so it's not a light switch. Let's take steps. And I want to learn a little bit more about the journey. So people can okay, so it's not a light switch. I think I can go on the journey. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to stay where I'm at, but yet I ain't trying to just do the light switch thing either. So I want to go on the journey. What is the first step of the journey? Like, what's step one, if in your opinion?
Step one is coming to the conclusion of, I can't do this by myself.
Got it.
I would say step two is, once you come to that conclusion, really looking for people who you think can help.
So what does that look like?
It can be asking your friends, asking your peers, or anyone in your circle. Hey, I'm looking for this, or hey, do you know anyone that is gifted at this, or maybe expertise at this? So I think utilizing your network, as far as for what their need may be. In this case, we're talking finances, so just pretty much hitting up your network. Hey, do you know anybody that's gifted in or knows how to do X, Y, and Z? So I think the search is a good component of it too as well, because even if someone's looking for an accountant, I would want them to, if they want to look at Skyward, for example, I would want them to look at some other firms as well, just so they can do their due diligence and just have even more peace on that next step that they're taking, as well. So I think come to the conclusion of what, I need some help with this, and then really reaching out to your circle, or even if it's just kind of doing some Google searches yourself, for people that you may can talk to, and things like that. I think those are just good steps.
Got it.
And then within those initial first meeting with whoever you may be meeting with, I think you'll be having some questions for them, more so trust building questions, and just getting the feel. 'Cause I think there has to be some type of chemistry, and typically, if there isn't any chemistry, you will want them more around your kids. You don't want them around, around your money too as well. Because me and Raven, we're having a babysitter. For us, bad chemistry would be someone who would just be cussing around them. I don't want a babysitter while we're gone just cussing around my kids. That's just bad chemistry, right?
That'd be bad chemistry.
Yeah, 100%. So I think having that chemistry component, I think that's a valuable tool and asset to kind of measure and engage, for someone you're looking to kind of, go on a journey with, because it is a journey. It is a journey, but I think, finance done right, it's at the pace of the client. It's at the pace of, I'm not trying to rush you, but we're going to go at your speed. We're going to go at your pace. Because I think with that type of pace, that's the pace that builds trust versus okay, we're going to do everything that I want you to do. Yeah, because people, again, that's not going to decrease the anxiety. I think, that's just a real component of it, of people that if someone hasn't reached out to someone with their finance, they're just a real component. It's not going to go away. Month one, even, to an extent, year one even too as well. So.
Okay. So what I heard you say, man, Dwayne, the journey, begins step one of becoming aware that you need help.
Yeah.
It's kind of admitting that, okay, all right, I can't take this to where I need to take it.
Yeah.
Then step two is to then find out who are some people that can help you. Look in your network, or even contact people who have a business of doing that, because that's what Skyward is, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so companies like Skyward are built to help you in that area, and then I heard you, I think, give a third step, and then once you find out who could help you, reach out to them and interview them, and figure out who you may have the best chemistry with.
Yeah,
and then I think maybe you heard a fourth step, and that is then now begin building that relationship, begin building that chemistry. So have however many amount of meetings you need, before you ultimately turn the light switch on.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think even with that search of finding someone, I think what I did mention is a very critical thing to someone that's valued, similar valued as yourself as well. Because if
Okay.
someone has different values, if someone doesn't value stewardship, they're gonna manage your money, or they're going to not serve you, as well as someone who will value stewardship, because someone who may not value stewardship, they'll probably steal money from you.
Wow.
Just didn't value the stewardship component of it. So I think, with anything, finding someone who's similar valued as you, I think they'll be critical. But also I think that like valued, I think that's a part of the chemistry component as well. But I definitely want to mention that values has to be the same.
Okay.
For sure. Because I think that just builds chemistry.
That's good.
Yeah.
So as you're looking for them, make sure that you have somebody who not only you like and you have chemistry with, but also at the same time that their values are similar.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So that's really helpful. I gotta ask one more question before we get out of here. I know we had our time, but I gotta ask one more question. But I gotta recap that one. And so if you want to be unsuccessful as a person that's trying to lead a family in their finances, if you want to be unsuccessful as a maybe a single person, don't have a goal, don't have a plan, don't have strategy, and then from a plan standpoint, or how do you take steps in doing that when you feel anxious? Go on a journey, just accept the journey of that, and it's not a light switch. It begins literally with just realizing that you need help, and you need somebody to help and come alongside you. Then after that, man, figure out somebody that you believe that can help you, and interview them. Hopefully you look at multiple of them, and as you interview, make sure you have chemistry, make sure you have values. Then after that, have however many meetings you need to ease into the waters of showing them the different things financially so they can help you. So good. All right, I gotta ask this question. I think I would be remiss if I didn't switch it to business.
Mm-hmm.
And just due to time, I gotta ask just one question here, and tell me this: if somebody wanted to be unsuccessful in a business financially, what do you think is the number one mistake that you've seen? Okay, not the biggest mistake, but the mistake that you've seen over and over. Small businesses, medium businesses have financially that makes them unsuccessful. What would you say?
I would say being unorganized.
Unorganized.
Being unorganized.
Describe that.
Yeah. So I would say, because that looks in various forms. I'll say being unorganized.
Is it financially, I imagine?
Yeah.
Okay.
But typically, if someone is unorganized financially, typically they're unorganized from an HR standpoint, maybe unorganized in some operational standpoint too as well. Because being organized in finance, it's pretty much just systems. But being unorganized, because if you're unorganized as a business, typically you're going to be feeling weight because you're unorganized. So now you're like, man, that answer is like scatterbrained, kind of like thinking all over the place. But also with that, there's waste that could happen. There's abuse because there's not proper controls on finances and things like that. So with that, because so many things to just fill in that hole of being organized, I feel like being unorganized is like the floodgates are just open for whatever to happen.
Wow.
And typically, when a business is unorganized, the leaders feel it. And it's a weight that don't necessarily have to be carried by them. It's a weight that don't necessarily have to be on their shoulders. Because once you are organized, systems are flowing, things are moving, things are grooving, and things like that. But it's definitely something that could be adjusted for sure. So, but also when it's there, it's like it just shows in so many different areas of a business.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you want to be unsuccessful as a business, be unorganized. So let's say I want to be successful as a business, okay? And I want to be organized, but I don't know how. What would you say to me? Like, okay, here's if it's a business owner and they're good at what they're doing, but they're not good at the finances, what would you tell them to do to try to be successful so they can be organized financially?
Yeah, I would say I feel like the greatest leaders that I know, or even using a sports analogy, the greatest players, like from team standpoint, typically they're surrounding themselves with great players that has different skill sets. You know, LeBron James, he's one of my favorite players. Kobe Bryant, he's absolutely my favorite. You know, he was largely successful in his championship runs because he had Shaquille O'Neal. You know, someone who's totally, you know, gifted than he is, someone with a totally different mindset and things like that. But also, you know, he was great in the post. You know, he was big. He was 7 foot strong, you know, a totally different game style than a Kobe Bryant. You know, so with that, I think, you know, surrounding yourself with someone who may be different gifted, but also has some strengths in areas that you're weak in. Because the two together will formulate a championship winning team.
Wow. So I hear the cry of multiple business owners right now. Okay, I want the Shaq that can handle my finances, but I can't afford them. Then what?
I would say definitely step one would be just more so reaching out with what you can't afford. Because there's people, you know, Skyward is one of them who would grow as you go, you know. So you don't necessarily have to hire, you know, spend $200,000, you know, for accounting services and things like that. Because typically to have full-time accountants, you know, it's expensive, and to have an entire accounting team, it's even more expensive, you know. So there are organizations out there, companies out there who are built to just kind of, you know, go with you as a company grow, you know. So if you can't afford like I said, I just threw out a number, $200,000. Like, what can you afford? And let's start from there for what you can afford, because you know, typically someone doing it right, they're going to help you grow your business anyway. So it's going to be it's long term. It's going to be a payoff, you know. But one thing that I have noticed is that typically, and I would say it's a reason why I even got into Skyward full time, is to be a resource to small and mid-sized companies, because I know it's just expensive to have accountants on staff full time, you know. So if you can't have, you know, someone on your team doing it full time, you know, outsource it to someone who can still get the same amount of work done, but you paying them a fractional of the cost as you would a full time degreed, certified, you know, accountant. So yeah, I would say if you can't, you know, if you feel like you can't afford it, talk to someone and see if they can, you know, work with you what you can't afford, and just kind of build services according to that.
Well, I think that's a great place for us to end right there. If you want to be unsuccessful as a small to medium-sized business, financially be unorganized. In fact, one of my greatest quotes that I've ever heard financially is, be money sloppy. If you want to be successful, don't be money sloppy. Don't be unorganized. And if it's not your gift, then find you a Shaq. Find you somebody who it is a gift that will not charge you the Shaq price. They'll charge you what you can afford and grow with you, like a Skyward.
Yeah, also 100% like a Skyward.
Like a Skyward. So there's companies out there that are built to grow as you grow. Wow, that's big. I think so many people don't ask for help financially because they know they can't afford it. But knowing there's companies out there that'll grow with you, wow, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for joining us today, and man, sharing some candid wisdom. If somebody did want to reach out to Skyward, like, how would they do that?
Yeah, there's different ways you can do it. You can go to my website. It's called Skyward FS, as in Florida State, skywardfs.com. It has all my information on there, as well as some resources you can read more about me, some blogs, and, you know, things like that kind of reflect my values and things. So as well as see about all the different services that we offer from a business standpoint, as well as on a personal side of it as well. So they'll be the best place to go is skywardfs.com.
Okay. Well, that concludes this version of Candid Wisdom. Thank you guys so much for joining this Building Excellence podcast. I hope it blessed you. All right, we'll talk to y'all soon.